What's going on, nerds, and welcome back to Top 10 Nerd. The God of Thunder from Down Under, one of the big six, and still up and running in the MCU, Thor Odinson. The God of Thunder is known mainly for his good, luscious blonde flow, badass hammer, and of course, lots of lightning. Chris Hemsworth has been playing him since 2011 and is set to make his latest appearance in Thor Love and Thunder in 2022. Now, while we may know the character pretty well at this point, there are always the fun and sometimes silly alternates. So here to break down some of those fun versions for you, I'm Taylor McWatters. Let's get counting. Kicking off the list at number 10, we have Old King Thor. Coming from Earth 14412, Old King Thor refers to himself as an older version of our Earth 616 Thor. So much so that if our Earth's Thor dies, he will also not exist anymore at all. Love it. We love future stress. Making his debut in Thor God of Thunder issue 1 in 2012, and this version is a creator version of the god. It's fun. In the future, Thor becomes a bit hasty. It shows a lot of his true potential, especially when he creates humans for this new Earth named Steve and Jane. Classic human names. After defeating Gore, he and his granddaughters began to rebuild this new world, starting with plant life. I feel like we're gearing up to see King Thor in the MCU. I mean, the eye patch, his weight gain, this emotional trauma, he really seems like he's going through it lately. King Thor also possesses the power of the Odin Force, which is also known as the power of the Allfather, and when wielded by Thor, of course, is called the Thor Force, or the Force. Yeah, it doesn't work. We give it a shot, we try our best. This power allows Thor to become invincible and seems to allow them to rival the powers of the strongest beings in the universe. Sounds like a pretty sweet deal. Here's the kicker though, if it's overused, it forces the user to enter a deep sleep to recover, and of course, making them vulnerable while doing so. I feel like this can be the plot for Thor Love and Thunder. I mean, maybe Thor has to use this power right off the hop of the film, then he enters a deep sleep, and then bam, that's where Jane Foster comes in to protect the Sleeping Beauty himself. There you go. And before we make our way to number 9, guys, if you could go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, that would be just splendid, because it goes a long way for us here at the studio. You guys rock. Thank you. Now back to some more God stuff. Number 9, Zombie Thor. We all know Chris Hemsworth's diet is insane in order to maintain the God of Thunder's physique. He has like 15 abs. I'm sure it's not easy, but when it comes to appetite, Marvel's Zombies doesn't hold back. Making his nasty debut in Marvel Zombies Army of Darkness in issue 1, it was a brief appearance, as you expect with the city plagued by a zombie contagion. And as far as the hammer's commitment goes, once Ultimate Reed Richards enters the chat, Thor couldn't wield Mjolnir anymore, so instead he makes a makeshift hammer, this one made of a pipe and a cinder block. Nice. It didn't last long though because, Silver Surfer's face kind of got in the way. Ouch. Number 8, Thor. Thor, but with an extra R, a little extra spice in this one, that's for sure. So Thor, this is the evil Thor of Earth 83292. So he's a bit of a dick this time around. Fair. He kills people if he believes that they don't worship him enough. I mean, a little much. Thor. We'll do Thor's Day from now on. Is that fine? What if we do that? Is that cool? This version is pretty dark, but I'm a fan. I mean, he really loves pies. Check it out. His journey begins in Avengers Volume 5, Issue 25. Like I said, this version's evil. He's a villain, but I have to throw him on this list because he's too badass to ignore. Sorry, not sorry. Venom Thor. Okay, this next one is absolutely insane, as you would imagine. We would stand no chance against this one. Earth 1089 is home to Venom Thor, and he made his debut back in What If Volume 2, Issue 4. Issue Thor? Issue 4. I see you, Marvel. So after killing its previous host, of course Spider-Man, the Venom symbiote made its way to Thor. Very scary. It didn't last long. Thank you, God, it didn't last long. Well, rather, thanks to Black Bolt for intervening. That would have been messy. The symbiote with the hammer and cape, I mean, I gotta tell you, something about it I like. I don't know. He even has the flow too, the Venom flow. It looks wet, it looks nice, it looks ready to go. Venom Thor is real mighty with a hint of fright. He takes care of Johnny Storm, bam, super quick, and then when Captain Marvel attempts to level him, the hammer just absorbs her power and shoots her back away. If only Black Bolt didn't get in the way, it probably would have been a pretty spectacular light show. Gory, but spectacular nonetheless. THROG. The Frog of Thunder. Why, of course, everyone knows him. Simon Walterson made his comic book debut in Lockjaw and the Pet Avengers issue 1, and this version is quite noteworthy. He started off the usual way a Frog of Thunder starts, a college football star at Mississippi State University. Maybe it doesn't start all the same, I don't know. After being drafted, of course, a knee injury left him unable to play anymore. Classic. And as if things couldn't get worse, he lost his wife, and then after battling depression, decided to take his pain to a witch, who connected him to the afterlife. He was able to communicate with his wife, how sweet. And then he wasn't able to pay the witch afterwards, which is not that sweet. Dine and dash on a witch? Dude, you're crazy. So the witch decides to get a little payback and turns Simon into a frog. He was soon given the name Puddle Gulp after meeting the other frogs on New York. Also, no, I'm not joking, this is all real. He comes across a small piece of Mjolnir, and then there you have it. The Frog of Thunder has risen. If you haven't seen any of THROG, it's quite riveting. I mean, riveting. Is that a Witchneer? Huh? Ultimate Thor. Starting with Ultimates issue 4, we see the Earth 1610 version begin his life on Earth in a not so pleasant way. So while exiled on Earth, he really did believe he was human. More specifically, a psychiatric nurse named Thorleif Gullman. Honestly, I feel like that name is more badass than Thor Odinson. It's kinda close. So around his 30th birthday, Thorleif began having these delusions of this Asgard place, and then he soon met his half-brother Gunnar. He introduced him to a project called the Dome. So basically in Brussels, they were trying to recreate this super soldier serum yet again, but this time they went with a magic belt of sorts. So instead of trying the whole biomechanical route, you know? The test subject, of course, being Thorleif Gullman. Gullman and Sachs. Can't include that. So he was given this badass Thor outfit, and the look was finally complete. He started these rants up again, how he was the Norse god of thunder. And after a neat MRI scan from Professor James Braddock, it was discovered that Thor wasn't making any of this up. These were memories. Their memories are real. I like this version of Thor. He doesn't agree to join the Ultimates after Fury asks until the foreign aid budget was doubled. My man negotiating. We'd love to see it. Also, Thor's magic belt was mentioned in Spider-Man Homecoming. Could this be a hint that we're gonna get some sort of crazy Thor outfit in the future? Yeah, probably. They like to do that. THOR. If you're a dog person, this next one is gonna make your day, as it made mine. THOR making his first appearance, or appearance, nah, it's cats, damn it, in Peter Porker, The Spectacular Spider-Ham issue 5. THOR is by far the cutest version of Thor. Sorry Hemsworth, you're a close second. Making his home on Arfgard, of course, he's the dog of thunder instead of god of thunder. Yeah, we reversed the word. See what I did? Yeah, you got it. What's a super dog without a super pack? When it came time to taking down Dr. Octopus of Earth 50810, THOR joined the other Scavengers. Yeah, see, now you know what we're doing here. You know what it's all about. He was joined by the oh-so-loving Captain Americat, Quacksilver, and Ant. Cool. Look, we got Spider-Ham John Mulaney edition, so to say we'll see Thor on the big screen, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it'll happen. We're not gonna see it, that's for sure. I'll make it myself if I have to. Let's go. It's only a matter of time. I believe. Jane Foster. I'm super excited that Taika Waititi is returning for Thor Love and Thunder. Thor Ragnarok was one of the most fun Marvel movies that they put out there. Easy, hands down. So when they announced that Natalie Portman was returning to wield the hammer in the upcoming sequel, I was jazzed. I'm so excited to see what they do with this. I mean, once Thor becomes unworthy, Jane takes over. I mean, she's pretty close to him. She's probably got the swing down at this point, right? The tough part about her is that the more she uses the hammer and possess the powers of Thor, the worse her cancer gets. I really hope this part doesn't make it into the flick, because I feel like I would just come out depressed. So during the comic Original Sin, Nick Fury obtains the Watcher's Eye, which is a real neat tool. And he whispers in Thor's ear that Gore was right. Gore was right, by the way. So Gore, this guy, he thinks that gods cause more trouble than anything, and they're like the worst ever. It makes Thor drop his hammer, seeing as he believes that gods are not worthy. And then he's like, by the way, he's right, y'all ain't worthy. Oops. So while Thor uses Yarngord instead, which is awesome name for anything, Mjolnir needs a new helping hand, literally, and who other is worthy than Jane Foster. Now while the cancer setback is absolutely awful, Jane doesn't let it interfere with her duty, and at one point her and Freya go against Odin, Kolborsen, Frost Giants, Loki, Dark Elves. Like, she doesn't just pick up the hammer, use it a little bit, and then gets on her way. No, she's committed. Committed to the bit. Storm Thor. From Earth 904, we find in the What If the X-Men Had Stayed in Asgard series, this beautiful combination of Storm and Thor. Storm. Yeah, I'll always try. And let me tell you, there's a lot of lightning in this one. So after a few X-Men decide to stay on Asgard, Thor at this point is still trapped as a frog back on Earth. Classic Loki, making people frogs. Loki actually created another mythical hammer and gave it to Storm. Now, she did a pretty bang up job considering that when Thor returned, he let her become the queen of Asgard. I mean, that makes a whole lot of sense. Her powers alone, before getting a magical hammer, she should be running the show regardless. Let's go. And finally, number 1, Beta Ray Bill. I really think we'll get to see this one on the big screen very soon. It's been teased numerous times now, but who is Beta Ray Bill exactly? Why is he always the talk of the town? The main 616 universe is home to the Corbinites, and amongst them is the powerful Beta Ray Bill. Making his first appearance back in 1983 in Thor issue 337, this version of Thor is recognized widely by his hammer, and that it's actually Stormbreaker, which we finally got to see in Infinity War for the first time. It was epic, the whole arm thing with Groot. So good. I stood up. I literally stood up. Bill was the first character to lift Mjolnir besides Thor or Odin. He's a big deal. Odin actually made Thor and Beta Ray Bill fight, and after Beta Ray Bill won, he refused to kill Thor. Questioning Odin and the rules of the hammer, he asked if he can use the hammer later on in life, after he's gained wisdom and all that nice stuff. So Odin gives him his own hammer, Stormbreaker. Not a bad gift. This guy is awesome. He's a total badass. Christian Bale is rumored to play him in the MCU, so he kind of has to be a little bit of a badass, If there's a Beta Ray, is there an Alpha Ray? Yes. He actually tried to replace him at one point as the race's guardian. He is in the main continuity of Thor, so to not see him in any movies at this point is just annoying. Well, there you have it, guys. Which of these alternate versions of the God of Thunder are your favorites? It's for sure the Frog. I know it's the Frog. Of course it's the Frog. Runners-up are Steve Rogers from Endgame and Sarah from Adventures of Babysitting. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in with us today. Let us know your thoughts down below, and of course, we'll see you next time. I'm Taylor McWatters. Stay safe, nerds. Bye.
Over the years, we have been fortunate enough to see many different characters from the comics take up the mantle of Black Panther, and we've seen many different performers take on the role. Today we're going to look back on some of the most epic and strongest versions of this character that we have seen throughout the years as we count down the top 10 most powerful Black Panthers. Welcome back, Nerd Squad. If you love Black Panther not just because he's an awesome superhero, but also for the diversity that he represents, be sure to check out one of our other videos. This one was written by Sasha, Top 10 African Superheroes. Click on up in the corner to find that video, and stick around to the end of this list where I will have some bonus content coming your way. Alright, now let's get counting. Number 10. Kashamba. Kashamba is the Black Panther belonging to the 2099 universe. He first appeared in Marvel Knights Black Panther 2099 issue number 1. Of course, because this comic is from 2004, Wakanda doesn't really appear as advanced as it might now in the modern day in comics. Our advancements just weren't that great yet. In this comic, Black Panther is overthrown by the Doctor Doom of 2099, who looks a lot like the Doctor Doom of the present day. Fortunately, Kashamba ends up avoiding being killed by Doom and inspires his people to rebel against the usurper. They are successful due to Kashamba's leadership and tactical brilliance, but in the end, Kashamba ends up being controlled by Doom, who seems to use Kashamba's Black Panther mask initially to do so. However, it is more than likely that should this story have continued, that Doom's control would be broken at some point, as Wakanda is both a nation rich with technology and magic. Either way, they'd likely figure out what was happening and find a way to break Doom's control. Number 9. Kevin Cole. Kevin Cole is kind of an anti-hero. He's a cop from Harlem, New York, and first appeared in the 1998 Black Panther series in issue number 50. His character was created by Priest and Dan Fraga. He became the Black Panther without any abilities, wearing a bulletproof Black Panther inspired suit in an effort to stand out and get a promotion. When this attracted the attention of the corrupt Lieutenant Sal Anthony, who attacked Cole and his fellow officers, hospitalizing some of them, Kevin realized he needed to do more and actually became a vigilante in order to take down Sal. Later on, Cole would aim to become a proper Black Panther with all of the mystical abilities. ERIK Killmonger, however, offered him an easier way than through Wakanda, T'Challa, and the Rite of Ascension, giving him a synthetic version of the heart-shaped herb, which would grant him powers in exchange for Kevin Cole dropping the Black Panther pipe dream and name, instead joining Killmonger's Panther cult and taking up the name White Tiger. Number 8. Azuri. Azuri was T'Challa's grandfather and the father of T'Chaka. He was the leader of Wakanda during World War II and would eventually end up teaming up with Captain America and his Howling Commandos, as well as Nick Fury to take down the Red Skull and Baron Strucker. PANTHER. He was one of the most deadly Black Panthers we've ever seen, more on guard and less trustworthy of any foreigners that set foot on Wakandan soil during the war. He seems to behave coldly and more ruthlessly when it comes to those he deems enemies. Azuri was more of an independent ruler who believed in not getting involved in the war originally, but eventually came to admire and respect Captain America and the symbol he knew Cap would become for America, seeing similarities between both their positions as national heroes. Number 7. NGOZI. NGOZI is an alternate version of Black Panther from the Venomverse War Stories comic. She was originally a track star whose legs became paralyzed following an accident. She ended up bonding with the Venom symbiote, which gave her the ability to once again walk and use her legs. After the Black Panther was killed by Rhino while attempting to defend her, she convinced the symbiote to join her in taking on the Rhino and defeating him in order to protect not just themselves, but innocent civilians from his wrath as well. The Dora Milaje were inspired by her bravery and named her as the new Black Panther, and this alternate reality T'Challa's successor after her defeat of Rhino and T'Challa's death. Number 6. Black Panther. This is the first Black Panther in known history in the comics. He first appeared in Marvel Legacy issue 1, where it was established that the first Black Panther originated from the Panther tribe. Although we don't know his name, we do know he was one of the first to uncover a vibranium meteor, and the power that came from it. He was one of the members of the Stone Age Avengers, and was powerful enough to help defeat a Celestial. Number 5. T'Chaka. T'Chaka was T'Challa and Shuri's father. As a ruler of Wakanda, he believed in both preserving and upholding the traditions and magic of their people, while also working hard towards pushing forward with technological advancements. He believed that both ideals could coexist and that a nation should progress but not forget their past or their history. As a ruler, T'Chaka was also bestowed with the powers of Black Panther, granted to him by the heart-shaped herb. As such, he had heightened senses and maintained peak physical condition and capabilities throughout his life. Not quite superhuman, but still above average when it came to his strength, speed, agility, and durability. Basically, think of an Olympic level athlete. As leader of Wakanda, he also had the strength of the nation at his back, and as a member of the royal family, he was trained at birth to become a skilled leader when it came to combat and diplomacy. Number 4. ERIK KILLMONGER. ERIK's story in the comics is a little different from the one that we saw in the MCU. Instead, he is very much a victim who was manipulated and turned into a villain by the traitorous Ndemwe and Ulysses Klaue. In fact, it was Klaue himself who originally gave him the name ERIK, and encouraged him to discard his true Wakandan name of N'Jindaka, forcing ERIK to treat Klaue as his true master. This made ERIK resentful, and eventually N'Jindaka rose up against his captors, killing Ndemwe and abandoning Klaue. ERIK would end up adopting the name Klaue gave to him to blend in. Eventually, ERIK would find his way back to Wakanda and would begin to secretly plot to overthrow King T'Challa, becoming one of his greatest enemies. ERIK himself has become a powerful adversary to Wakanda, and even an emperor in his own right of the intergalactic empire of Wakanda. He not only has had the power of Black Panther, but is also intelligent, boasting a PhD in neuroscience and engineering. Also, every time Killmonger dies in the comics, he always seems to come back. So while he's not immortal in terms of abilities, plot-wise, he kinda is. Number 3. T'Challa. T'Challa is the most well-known iteration of Black Panther in the present day, especially now that we have the MCU version of him. But while some might focus on his fighting prowess, which is impressive, it should also be noted that T'Challa has also been granted supernatural powers since he became King of the Dead. He has necromancy skills and also has developed multiversal senses and awareness thanks to Galactus. Not only is T'Challa powerful in terms of his superpowers, but he is also known for his brilliant mind, which earned him his place in the Illuminati. Many may think of Shuri as the brains of the family thanks to her depiction in the MCU, but T'Challa is actually known for being just as brilliant, if not more, in the comics. He has a photographic memory and is also a master of physics, as well as a field that he created himself and discovered, known as shadow physics. He's super smart. Number 2. Shuri. Shuri has always been passionate about becoming the first female Black Panther in Wakandan history. She is not only powerful because of how determined she is, but because of how hard she has worked towards that goal. She is determined, bold, brave, and strong-willed. Her half-brother himself trained her for this purpose, in case she was ever called upon to take his place, which of course ended up happening, making her the Queen of Wakanda and Black Panther in T'Challa's stead. At one point they were even both Black Panther. It was her determination and strong will that helped her to become such a spirited and skilled fighter. Shuri is also a genius, a brilliant inventor, and a skilled tactician and diplomat. She has also been gifted with supernatural abilities which allow her to change shape, size, and raise the dead. Number 1. MCU T'Challa. One of the most powerful versions of Black Panthers when we are looking at impact is T'Challa from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This isn't just because of how powerful that character is, how he manages to balance both the traditional and technologically advanced aspects of Wakanda like his father T'Chaka did in the comics, always doing his best as a ruler, a king, and a hero for his nation, but also for the world. It's also because of his growth through the Black Panther film. He is powerful and wise enough to see that one day a change is not only going to come, but needs to come. He is brave and strong enough to see that it is time for him to listen to those around him and share the truth about the power of Wakanda with the world. T'Challa does not let fear blind him in the end. He's not only powerful, but he's inspirational. Add in the fact that we had Chadwick Boseman portraying him in the film, and it only adds to the character's power. He was an amazing performer who always committed to each role that he took on. Chadwick Boseman was the one to develop the dialect of Wakanda, studying various different languages and dialects from across Africa to come up with it. It was also so well received that it became adapted by the rest of the cast when Black Panther came about. This wasn't just a man who played a hero on screen, but he became a hero in his own right, questioning and fighting against stereotypical roles for people of color and using his own voice to raise up and acknowledge everyday heroes. From playing real-world historical heroes to acknowledging James Shaw Jr., who saved lives by wrestling a gunman out of a Waffle House in Nashville, Tennessee during a mass shooting. Yeah, that's a thing that happened. Boseman gave away his award for Best Hero at the 2018 MTV Awards to Shaw, calling him up on stage with him to accept the award, acknowledging him as a real-life hero. If there is such a thing as people who are too good for this world, Chadwick Boseman was likely one of them. Thank you so much for watching, Nerd Squad. What has been your favorite version of Black Panther that you've seen so far? Which do you think is the most powerful and why? Let us know in the comments below. This has been Top 10 Nerd and I'm your host Amanda McKnight, but before I go, I asked some of you fine folk on my Twitter and here on our community page to reach out with how exactly the story and character of Black Panther, as well as that of Chadwick Boseman, have inspired you. And here's what you had to say. Zachary Cardick comments, "Hi Amanda, the Black Panther story inspired me in fighting for what's right. Chadwick Boseman inspired me to make the most of my time while I still live on this planet, even if I know my time here is very limited. Chadwick also inspired me to take nothing for granted." Reina Ramirez writes, "I personally love the fact that whenever he visited ill children, he was T'Challa. He was strong in front of them so that they could be strong. Never did he reveal that he was sick too or made it about him. R.I.P. CB." Simeon Harden shares, "Black Panther inspired me as a young black man a lot. He was a man that knew every language, studied every science, and created his own science. He knew every fighting style and created his own Panther style. He cared about his people, his wife, his son. He was also one of the most intellectual minds in the MCU, and I believe I can do everything he's done. Chadwick was inspiring not only for bringing that character to life for me, even though the movie didn't represent it too well, but also by not playing into these stereotypical characters in movies. They always like to show every character he played had an impact on the world, and he did them all while battling cancer." Wow, such touching stories and thoughts from so many of you. Thank you so much for sharing your feels and your inspirational moments with me and the Top 10 Nerd crew. They have really been sweet to read, and please keep posting them, I'll keep reading them. Rest in power, Chadwick Boseman. Thank you for giving us all these incredible stories. Now, let's make sure that we take stock of our lives every day and make sure we're doing our best to use our own power for good, to rise others up, to take care of one another, and to inspire change. Wakanda forever.
What's going on, Top 10 Nerd family, and welcome back. There's many different versions of many characters. Either certain timelines have crossed or certain events have brought together different versions of the same character. Kind of like in Avengers Endgame when we see two Captain Americas going at it. It's much more common to see these characters in comics rather than movies, and most of them are pretty interesting. Some even much stronger than we could have ever imagined. That being said, I'm Taylor McWatters, and in no particular order, here are our top 10 most powerful Hulks. Number 10, the Hulk. The story we're most familiar with is one that I must start with. With skin that is impenetrable to just about anything and super bad super strength, the Incredible Hulk is a force you don't want in any kind of way. Created by the late Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, the Hulk is created when Bruce Banner is accidentally exposed to a gamma bomb. Making his first debut in the Incredible Hulk #1 in 1962, we've seen many different variations of the big green guy, portrayed by actors such as Lou Ferrigno, Eric Bana, Edward Norton, and most notably Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo.
He gets stronger the more angry you make him, which makes fighting this guy a really tough time. He even lifted an entire island in Secret Wars. An island. Who do you guys think played Bruce Banner the best in the movies, by the way? Let us know in the comments. We're curious over here. Number 9, She-Hulk. Now, of course, we have to include Banner's cousin, Jennifer Walters. So, while on the verge of death, Bruce Banner gave Jennifer a very small transfusion of Hulk's blood to save her life. What a great cousin. All my cousins do is comment how lame my selfies are on Facebook. The transfusion gave her a very mild version of the Hulk's powers. So yes, She-Hulk is green, and yes, she gets stronger the angrier she gets, but she can change whenever she wants. She's the Hulk, but she still has a hand on the wheel, basically. Now, there are times where she gets a bit too angry and can't control herself, but most of the time, she knows what she's doing. Tatiana Mason Lee will play She-Hulk in her upcoming series on Disney+, set to be released in 2022, and we're all looking forward to that. I know it's gonna be great. Number 8, Doc Green. So after Hulk had gotten shot in the head by the Ancient Order of the Shield, Tony Stark came in yet again to save the day. How, you ask? Well, he used his Extremis virus and injected it into the Hulk to undo damage from the bullet. Not a bad idea, Stark, not a bad idea. We'll give you that. The only side effect was the brand new genius personality for the green guy. That's right, the Hulk had now acquired Banner's smarts. So the next logical step for Doc Green was to create a serum that strips the powers from the other Hulks, because he didn't want there to be any others like him, especially being smart and all. He knew it wasn't a good idea. Eventually the virus had gotten removed and Doc Green reverted back into the Hulk. Thank God. I feel like we don't need a smart Hulk. Like Valkyrie said in Endgame, I think I liked you better either of the other ways. She's on to something. 7, Savage She-Hulk. She's the daughter of Hulk and Thundra, so you already know we gotta include her in this list. She's a very unique version of the hero. For starters, she doesn't get stronger when she gets angry. Instead, she becomes more powerful the more calm she is. That'd be a strange sight to see. Well, I'm going to kill you now. That's wild. So where did these powers come from? Well, when Thundra went back in time, she fought the Hulk. But then the two became friends by the end of it and even shared a kiss. How lovely. So once back in her own timeline, she used the leftover Hulk DNA, added it to her DNA, and then poof, you have Lyra, the Savage She-Hulk. Number 6, Maestro. Okay, remember in Avengers Endgame when Scott Lang tests out the quantum tunnel? He goes from being an adult to an old man to a baby back to an adult. It's actually a pretty comical scene, but what if one of the other Avengers went in? Like, what if you aged the Hulk? Well, making his first appearance in a vision in the Incredible Hulk Volume 2 issue 401, Maestro was the main antagonist in the Incredible Hulk Future Imperfect. The story takes place about 100 or so years in the future after a nuclear war has put the planet close to extinction. So an alternate version of the Hulk, Maestro, had been absorbing all the nuclear radiation the entire time and ended up becoming the strongest thing on the planet. Massive increases in strength and anger, plus the brains of Banner, made him arguably unstoppable. I would love to see this version of Hulk on the big screen. In fact, I'd love to see an old version of pretty much any of the Avengers. Not just a scene with old Cap, because you know, then I'll cry. Again. Oh, speaking of Old Man Hulk, number 5. Old Man Hulk. In the Old Man Logan storyline, Hulk was actually a villain. Traitor. Alongside Dr. Doom, Magneto, and Abomination, he actually ends up being the final villain for the story. He ended up having kids with none other than his own cousin, Jennifer Walters, aka She-Hulk. Okay, interesting choice. Well, it's because she couldn't be poisoned by the radiation, so it made sense to do it, I guess. After they had referred to themselves as Hulk Gang, what up? Some members of the family ended up killing Wolverine's family. Not a good idea. So retired Old Man Logan Wolverine got pissed and killed basically everybody except old Banner and one young offspring. Banner then turns into a very large, very angry monster and swallows Wolverine whole. That's right, he eats him. See, normally you would think that's the end of it, but that is until Wolverine cut through him from the inside and broke free, killing Old Man Hulk in the process. I don't know who I'd rather be in that situation. Like, would you rather be swallowed by a Hulk, or would you rather swallow a sharp old man Logan? Both sound unpleasant. Number 4, War Hulk. In X-Men Apocalypse, we caught a glimpse at the Horseman. Apocalypse surrounded himself with the likes of Storm, Cyclops, Gambit, and Archangel before going for Magneto himself. But what if he recruited the Hulk? Well, that's exactly what sort of happened in the Onslaught storyline. After the Hulk and Banner split into 2 separate units and were on different Earths, so the angry green guy ended up being recruited to serve as War, thus giving us War Hulk. This version is a treat. So Apocalypse added to his already terrifying set of skills. The Beast was unstoppable at this point. Even Apocalypse had to put a cap on what he was able to do, because, well, I mean, look at him. Times like these, I really wish Marvel had all the rights to their Fox characters. As much as I love Days of Future Past, this would have been a great way to mix up Banner's storyline in the MCU drastically. Eventually, we got to see this Beast version of Hulk in Thor Ragnarok based on the storyline none other than number 3, Planet Hulk. Arguably the best scene from Thor Ragnarok is when Hulk is the champion of the arena at Sakaar. Once Thor realizes that this is not the same Hulk he'd worked with in previous Avengers movies, he had to really put up a fight, and it was awesome to see. To see those two battle it out again after their 2012 Avengers fight, what a ride. This plot comes from the Planet Hulk storyline. So after the Illuminati decided he's too much of a threat to Earth, they send him off on a mission to destroy a rogue satellite. Survey says that was a lie. They were actually intending to send him off to a peaceful planet. But wormholes exist, so the trip went south and Hulk ended up landing on Sakaar, where he is forced to fight for the planet's emperor, the Red King, which in the movie was actually the Grandmaster, played by the most handsome man on the planet, Jeff Goldblum. And if you haven't seen Thor Ragnarok, do yourself a favor and go watch it twice. Hulk plus weapons equals scary. Number 2, World War Hulk. In the sequel to Planet Hulk, Hulk heads to New York City and gives the Illuminati, which is Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Reed Richards, an ultimatum to turn themselves in. The Hulk blames them for the death of his pregnant wife, so he's not too patient. He gives them 24 hours before he would then destroy Manhattan. That's the scariest thing. Imagine seeing that on the news. You're like, can we go? Can we get the hell out of here? Literally nobody can stop him. Doctor Strange even got in his head and tried to talk him down, and it of course does not work. Iron Man attempts to level the Beast with his Hulkbuster armor, but we all know how that would go. It fails. For a guy who gets stronger the angrier he gets, this is quite the event. I feel like this would have been a great on-screen plot as well. I mean, if Banner had come back from Sakaar still angry and out of control, who knows what he would have done to the Avengers, especially if Nat wasn't around? Oh boy. And finally, number 1, Amadeus Cho. Making his debut in Amazing Fantasy Volume 2, number 15, Korean-American raised in Arizona, Amadeus Cho participated in a quiz show named Brain Fight. How fitting. At just the age of 15, Amadeus won that quiz show. He won $5,000 while being deemed the 7th smartest man in the world. Not a bad title at all. I think I'm like number 9, maybe 10, I don't know. 11? Really? Okay. The organizer of the quiz show is none other than Pythagoras Dupree. He was the 6th smartest man in the world and basically just wanted to find the biggest brain and take out the competition. Pythagoras sent out a squad of goons to kill Amadeus. Barely escaping, he ran away and then he met the Incredible Hulk. Years later, Amadeus would eventually become totally awesome Hulk. See, he got stuck with a dangerous amount of radiation that should have made him go mad, but instead he used special nanites to absorb the Hulk's powers. Nice. He took pride in trying to be a better, smarter Hulk. What a good guy, what a good kid, rather. At one point, he actually exiled himself into space on a satellite, just so he could study himself and make sure he still has the ability to control everything that's going on. Well, there you have it, guys. As always, thank you for watching, and if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit subscribe, and while you're there, hit the notification bell, that way you don't miss any future videos. I'm Taylor McWatters, and we'll catch you next time. I should have worn my green Hulk shirt and disappeared on the wall. I'm like, damn it. She's the Hulk, but she can, 8, 9, 8, 7, yeah. 7. You have Lyra, the Savage She-Hulk. You have Lyra. Is this 5 or 4? I think 5.
Maybe 4. Maybe you might have missed 5. So just say 5 and then go to 4.
Number 5. Find the biggest brain and take out the competition. What a to study himself and to study his ability to control himself. I'm gonna try it again. That didn't make any sense either way.